Hello and welcome to Maiden, Mother, Matriarch with me, Louise Perry. Slightly unusual episode for you this week because I'm on holiday. You'll be able to hear church bells tolling sometimes during this recording because we're staying in the countryside right next to a church. And we decided to do audio only rather than skip a week. So there won't be any video associated with this episode. But we have a particularly fantastic guest, Peachy Keenan, who is a columnist at the American Mind and a domestic extremist, according to her latest book, which is all about how she went from being a progressive to a domestic extremist, extremely domestic mother of five. We spoke about antinatalism, about Peachy's journey away from being a progressive, and in the extended version of this episode, we also spoke about the online right and Bronze Age Pervert as a political influencer, and about Peachy's views on the term reactionary feminism. So you can find that extended episode at my Substack, louiseperry.substack.com, where you can also find bonus episodes and the MMM chat community. Enjoy. So, Peachy, I think one of the things that people might not necessarily realise if they read your columns or just have a sort of glance at your book is the fact that you do live as a domestic extremist, your term, but you also are right in the belly of the beast culturally in terms of where you live and what you've done professionally. And, like anyone looking at you, if they didn't know how many kids you have, which kind of gives the game away, would think that you are a progressive.
Right. I look like one of them. I act like one of them. I dress like one of them. And they don't know that I'm walking around, but like a regular liberal, progressive Los Angelino. But I am, yes, as you said, a domestic extremist. I'm extremely domestic. I'm a stay at home mom of five. And in LA, you have to be very careful. I'm sure you heard this, but people like me who, there's lots of us out here. We can't put any, flags on our houses. Even American flags can sometimes get you in trouble in Los
Really?
Angeles.
With neighbours?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's in my neighborhood. It's sort of died down. It's interesting the number of rainbow flags I see on houses, but starting with like when Biden got elected, and especially after George Floyd, so many houses had BLM flags, transgender flags, rainbow flags. Black Lives Matter. In this house we believe. So many houses had that sign. In this house we believe, love is love, no person is illegal, like all these immigrants welcome. And my house kind of was conspicuous because I did not have any of that stuff. Any of the flair, the liberal flair they like to put on their homes. But you have to be careful for sure. And I've been sort of, since my book came out, I was on Fox News 4 times. I've been on all these podcasts and shows showing my face, kind of coming out of my anonymity. Peachy Keenan is, my pseudonym. I've been like looking around, like, is anyone going to recognize me? Like, am I going to be, stoned to death in West Hollywood? But they are oblivious. I mean, none of my old friends have really reached out to me. Even my boss at my former job, which is a giant woke Hollywood studio, he called me the other day and I was like, oh no, he found out. He saw me on Fox, I'm dead. And he had no idea. And he had another question, an unrelated question. And I was like, these people just live in their liberal bubble. Like they don't even
They
know.
don't watch Fox Beach.
They do not. They do not watch it.
Can I tell you about the flag thing? Has just reminded me when I was like, because I like you. Okay, I live in a bougie suburb of London. I I I may have heterodox opinions, but I actually love sort of progressive cultural stuff. I love oat lattes. I love Lululemon. All of this.
Yeah,
I'm
me
like,
too. Yeah.
yeah, I'm
That's why
so
we're here.
I'm so incognito. And so when I was in the States earlier this year, to do a speaking engagement, and I arrived in the city, like on the East Coast that I had no knowledge of, and I was like, I would just kill for an oat latte and a salad. And so what I did is I followed the BLM flags in people's windows until I found a Whole Foods.
That is so true. I mean,
Yeah.
it's my husband and I joke about this all the time because we've had friends who have left LA over the last few years, lots of friends, and moved to red states. The whole thing here is, if you're a conservative, are you going to move to a red state? Are you going to go to Florida or Texas?
Hmm.
Escape the liberal bad people. And his thing is, look, the reason they call it flyover country is because flyover country sort of sucks. Like in the Midwest, you're not going to find the stuff that we grew up with as these sort of, like I like to joke, I'm a coastal elitist, grew up by the beach
Mm.
in Los Angeles. Like you said, the oat lattes, the Lululemon, and their culture of like sort of fitness and good food and health food and smoothies and Erewhon, which is like where they sell like $17 smoothies. Gwyneth Paltrow's shop, her Goop food delivery is here.
I
You
love
know what
that
I mean?
stuff. And it
Yeah.
like injects its stone into my veins.
No, exactly. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my God, how am I gonna give up my facialist and my colorist, which is where Lana Del Rey gets her hair done. You know what I mean? Like if I move to the boondocks, to the farmland, I may not have access to that stuff. It's very hard. Like just like you, I'm a city girl. I'm the sort of spoiled urban princess. It is hard to sort of reconcile that with my not even heterodox, like basically like, my quote far right ideology. Where do I fit in the world? It's really, there's nowhere.
I used to work at a sometimes at a co-working space, which also had a yoga studio downstairs. And one of the perks of going to this co-working space is you could go to lunchtime yoga classes, which is very
Ooh.
nice when you're prematurely aged like me and you have a bad back. And I, on one occasion, I um, I wrote a piece for the Daily Mail, because that's my job, and in the morning, and then I came down to do a yoga class. I think it was the piece for the Mail might have been about trans. It might not. I can't remember exactly. And I came down, and my male yoga teacher had pink and blue nail polish on.
Oh no.
And I was
You're
like,
like,
imagine if
please,
they
if they
knew. Yeah.
only knew. I was just last week, I was invited by someone I know who's sort of like a moderately well known person to have lunch at their very private, very VIP social club slash restaurant in West Hollywood, right? Where you have to be with a member. And when you walk in, they put stickers over your phone cameras so you don't take any
Oh yeah.
paparazzi.
Okay.
This is where, Meghan and Harry come and stay in LA when they're here. It's very secret. And so I'm sitting with this woman, and she doesn't know really who I am. Like it was in my other life, that my other name, my dead name, she knew me as. And I'm sitting there, and in walks, Will Ferrell, who's the star of the Barbie movie, and
Mm.
he's meeting like his agent from CAA. Everyone there is an agent or a movie star or whatever. And I was like, oh my gosh, if they only knew that I had spent like all of June, like, shitting on Barbie, like giving it a bad review about it being like this woke feminist propaganda. And here I am, sitting with the Barbie people. It's so funny.
Yeah. Let's talk about how this how you got here. What was your path? Because you weren't always a domestic extremist, right?
Not at all.
You used to be kind of more at peace with your surrounding culture.
Yes, I was so into fitting in to the culture. I just kind of absorbed, like many young women in the West. I absorbed every cultural message that there was. I grew up with Madonna and MTV as a child of the '80s. And even though my parents were sort of like, kind of Ronald Reagan Republicans, I rejected all that because that was dorky. That was for nerds. I wanted to be cool. I wanted to be guys. I wanted to sort of just live the basic life that we were presented as women. I had no other examples of like how to be except for like, Sex in the City, right? So I went to college. I was apolitical, but I sort of came out in my 20s as just a basic pro choice, sort of quasi feminist. And, the idea that I would have ever wanted to get married in my 20s or even get pregnant was like anathema. That was just, no one was doing that. We were going out. It was all about, where are we going to go out and where are we going to go? Where's the party? And the whole game was to avoid getting pregnant, to avoid, getting tied down to like some, boring old boyfriend. We were going to do that one day, like in our 30s, we'd settle down, I guess. And I just looking back, I just think, my goodness, I can't believe that I almost missed out. I mean, I met my husband in New York City when I was in my late 20s. And I remember thinking, like, oh, this is sort of getting serious. And he was a conservative. And I had never met a like political conservative in my entire life. He was the first one. And I was like, well, why do I like him? He's a conservative. My friends will hate him. Like, how I can't do this, but I sort of liked him. His toxic masculinity, kind of won me over. But it was like really hard to sort of figure out, will I be sort of blackballed by my friends, by my group, by my social class, by the girls I went to college with, their lifestyles? They were all basic feminist liberals. And just it almost held me back. There was a moment where I was like, okay, I have to kind of renounce, my past beliefs, my friends. I can't do both. And I tried for a long time to do both, to sort of, as I was becoming politically conservative, socially conservative, kind of waking up to the reality of, like you write about the sexual revolution and the birth control pill and abortion, and realizing kind of too late that I had been sold all of those lies, and I had swallowed every single one. And as I kind of woke up, my friends had not woken up. So I had to kind of live this double life for the first few years of our marriage, where my friends would ask me, like, well, why are you having a baby so soon? Because I got pregnant like right away almost. What are you doing? Don't you want to like have fun for a while? Like, why are you jumping into motherhood? Like, they were sort of felt betrayed that I had gotten married while they were not yet on that track. And so it took me a few years to sort of fully embrace my inner domestic extremist. And I had to really find a new circle of friends, people who wouldn't want me, stoned to death as a conservative.
Thank you so much for watching that episode of Maiden, Mother, Matriarch, and for all of your support. It means an enormous amount for the growth of the show. If you want to hear bonus content, an extra 20, 30 minutes of conversation with the guest, maybe a little bit more personal, a little bit less filtered, then you can go to my Substack at louiseperry.substack.com, where you can sign up for extended episodes and also bonus episodes. And you can also access our chat community. You can also support the show by subscribing on YouTube or subscribing wherever you get your podcasts, and rating and reviewing on Apple Podcasts is also really great for encouraging other people to give the show a try. Please also spread the word, tell people that you know who you think might like it to give it a shot. The word of mouth effect is really valuable, so we'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening, watching, and supporting what we're doing.